Hello world of YouTube and welcome to another album review thing. This time around I'm reviewing the new Slaughterhouse album / mixtape On the House, and welcome to Our House, which were released fall of last year. Now if you don't know who Slaughterhouse are, they're a hip-hop supergroup comprised of Joel Ortiz, Crooked Eye, Rwista 59, and Joe Budden. Now these guys made kind of a big splash in the underground scene when they put out their first album back in 2008, I think. But they really made a lot of buzz when they signed to Shady last year and were a part of the Shady Cypher on the BET Awards. And then they did the whole we're going to put out an album thing to get people hyped. And it dropped, but before that, they put out a mixtape called On the House. And essentially with this review, I'm going to talk about the two, compare them, all that fun-ish. Now, I'll talk about them in subsequent order, or in chronological order. Why can't I talk today? Why can't I think of proper words? But the first thing that came out of the two was the mixtape On the House. And it'll be more prevalent when I talk about the album, but I like this thing a lot. It was on my mixtapes of the year list. It was really good. I felt like they were pushing their own boundaries as MCs. They were being more ambitious by expanding on the first album, utilizing their features, or not their features, but their samples really well. It kind of has their first album sound expanded. There isn't anything that doesn't fit on here, except for maybe some of the choruses, like on the tail end, Gone kind of fit. It kind of feels a bit tacked on, but overall, this mixtape is fantastic. I mean, from the first track, Back the Fuck Up, like you can tell, they're still being abrasive, they're still being ferocious, spitting just these very interwoven verses. They play off of each other well, and they definitely are proving that they can spit. They're definitely proving that they can construct really good verses, featuring really well thought out rhymes and all that sort. And when I mean they're being ambitious, they're pushing their boundaries as a hip hop group. I mean, there's songs on here that span, well past the typical mark. You got 7-8 minute songs, 15 minutes pretty much in the closing track, and they keep your attention, they hold your attention throughout the entire time. And that's something that I still feel is challenging to do in hip-hop, especially with this type of hip-hop that's very aggressive and very in-your-face with the delivery of these four MCs. But they do a great job of being clever, being witty, being serious, and having lyrical subject matter that can really hold your attention, whether they're being braggadocious in a aggressive sense, showing that they have skill, they have prowess, or just talking about their life, them coming up, all that stuff. And I definitely think that if this were the album, it would sell very well amongst its fan base. Does it have all that much of a mainstream appeal? Not entirely. If anything, the only tracks on here I could see becoming singles or being played in the masses are Weight Scale, Gone, and maybe Who I Am, and Juggernauts, because Juggernauts does a really good job of utilizing its sound to be kind of a catchy track, and it uses that 50 Cent sample really well as the chorus. And honestly, those tracks mentioned are the only ones that I could feel could progress over to the album, to the actual album itself, as maybe B-sides or offcuts, if not woven into the record itself. But overall, I love this thing, and I think you should definitely check it out if you love these four MCs. They spit extremely well. The production on here is really well handled. The beats are all very, very well constructed. They're very abrasive, very reminiscent of the first album, which, again, it just feels like they took their money and they made a well-produced sequel to that first album. It doesn't feel like that with the actual album. This mixtape just kind of feels like a good sequel to their self-titled release, and I love this thing up and down. It's great. The few features that are on here do a really good job of presenting themselves: Freeway, K Young, and SLV. But overall, this thing's great. You should definitely check it out. It's good. Love it, love it, love it. Favorite song? maybe see dead people. I like the really dark vibes of that beat in the track. It just seems somewhat haunting in a way. And I like it. It's good. It was the first song I heard, and I really fell in love with it. As for the album, Welcome to Our House, which was put out a little bit after that, I'm going to call this a reiteration of Shady Syndrome, because like Yelawolf's album, this feels extremely tinged with a lot of mainstream hip-hop. Whether that's good or bad is up for you to decide, but the contrast to Radioactive and this is that I feel Slaughterhouse wanted this sound. Yelawolf, you can kind of tell with his response of releasing the mixtape that he put out last year, that he wasn't a big fan of the softer side of Radioactive. Slaughterhouse, on the other hand, seems to embrace it full-heartedly, and that's fine. I mean, these are MCs that have been in the game for a while, and I'm sure they wanna settle a bit. But that being said, I do still like some chunks of this LP. I feel even more than a lot of hip-hop fans do. I don't like Flip a Bird. I don't like Get Up. And I don't like really the tail end of this record. I like Goodbye to an extent and Die to an extent. But most of the tail end of this record is trash. Is just scrap for me. From We Did It to Our Way, there's a lot of that I just don't like. In fact, the funny thing is, I do like some of the more popular tracks, or like the more poppy sounding tracks, like My Life. I actually like My Life, along with Rescue Me, in a sense. Like, I like the ones with Skylar Grey, even though they don't completely match the sound of Slaughterhouse. I think that it doesn't fit too uncohesively. I think that some of the features on here are poorly used, like Busta Rhymes and CeeLo. I think CeeLo could have been used better. His verse on My Life isn't probably the worst part of the song. And Busta just used for a hook. He fits so well with those guys. When I saw he was on this album, I was actually looking forward to that track. I'm not the biggest Busta Rhymes fan, but I do enjoy him as an MC, and I do think he fits very well with this group, and I think that he was harshly underused on this thing. Coffin, definitely one of the standout tracks, is the one that I like the most. That and Hammer Dance, and again, like the mixtape, it does use its samples well. I do like the sample in Hammer Dance, the Corn sample. I think it's well done. A-Rap Music is definitely one of the better producers that's worked with Slaughterhouse, but overall, I mean, I don't hate this thing, but I'm not all that into it either. Honestly, the more I listen to this thing, I really walk away with maybe 5 tracks that I enjoy out of the 16 that are on the album, and that's Our House, Coffin, Hammer Dance, My Life, and Rescue Me. And Goodbye and Die. Those 7 of the 16 tracks. That's about 9 tracks, including skits that I just don't like. I don't like Throw It Away, because I think that the verses are sloppy and they're very poorly written, and Swizz Beatz the beat's alright, but the way it's handled is poorly done. Frat House seems bland. Park It Sideways, forgettable. Get Up, bad. Flip a Bird, annoying. And that's pretty much, I mean, that's it. That's the rest of the tracks that I don't like. I mean, it's a mismatch. It's similar to Yelawolf, but I like the poppier sides of this better than the way they were handled on Radioactive. Overall, I don't hate them for making this. I understand why they make this. I'm just not all that big a fan of it. I think that since this is their first major debut, it was a good effort. Sorry, because it does show that they in some tracks like Coffin, which I don't like some aspects of Coffin. Royce's verse, I wasn't that big on. I don't like the way he does it, but I do like the fact that they show in some aspects that they can still write somewhat ferociously done tracks, especially Crooked Eye, because I guess he's still my favorite on this thing. I like the way he spits more. I mean, he does some really nice references in there. Like there's one where he's talking about Left Eye, Don't You Go Chasing Waterfalls. I like the Far Side reference. That's all passing me by like a Far Side song. I like that stuff, and I like the way he doesn't. But I mean, overall, it's meh. It's middle of the road for me. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. The songs that I do like are trumped by songs that I really don't like. For every positive, I can find a negative. Out of the two, I much prefer the mixtape, and I'm sure a lot of you out there do as well. But I wanted to talk about this, because I thought it was interesting, and I think that I liked this more than a lot of other Slaughterhouse fans did. Do I like the self-titled release, or do I like the first album more? Yes. Most definitely. Most definitely. I think that's much better, and I do listen to that more than I do this, but it's not all that bad. My favorite song on here, probably Hammer Dance, because I like Hammer Dance. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you enjoyed this review. I've been Viralrak. You guys are good at substance situations, and I'll see you another day.